today we're going to start working on our pinwheel block. And this is the block that we're working on. This is number 18, and we're using fabrics 19 and fabrics 22. There is nothing difficult about this block. The only thing that you really need to watch with this block is what's going to happen right here in the center. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, so 16 pieces of fabric coming together right here in this little circle. So we're going to have to pay attention to that, but otherwise it's an extremely simple block. So what we're going to do to start is we're going to draw a diagonal line from corner to corner on the wrong side of one of these fabrics. I'm going to pick the pink just because that's what I picked. And I'm going to grab my long ruler, and you can see here that I've got my 18.5 by 2.5 inch Creative Grids ruler. And I'm just going to lay it down. I'm going to line up the corner here and the corner here. I'm going to take my friction pen and I'm just going to draw a line. And hopefully you can see my line. I'll try to draw it darker this time. So I'm going to do this, and then once I have done this, I'm going to take my two fabrics, I'm going to put them right sides together. That's a little darker, so hopefully that makes it a little easier for you to see. So I've drawn my diagonal line. I'm going to line up my fabrics, and then I'm going to pin it. I want this all to stay together as I transport it from here on my cutting table over to my sewing machine. I'm lining it up, pinning it, and then I'm going to reach behind me and I'm going to grab my wool pressing mat just to carry them over so they're nice and where I want them and I don't have to worry. So here's my wool pressing mat. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch away from each side of the drawn line. So I'll sew 1/4 of an inch on this side, 1/4 of an inch on that side. I'll also sew these two. Then I'm going to take it and I'm going to cut it apart on the drawn line. And then I'll come over here and show you the next step. All right, I've sewn these and I have also cut them apart. Now I'm going to set my seams. Once I've set my seams, I'm going to determine which way I want to press these seams. We're doing a total of 3 of these blocks this month, so I think what I'm actually going to do is try it each way and let's see which way works the best for us and what we're most comfortable with. So the first block this month, I'm going to press my seams open. Grab my strip stick, I'm going to lay my fabric across it, and as always I'm going to separate it first, and then I'm going to let the nose of my iron, the very tip of my iron, do all the work. I'm going to line that up on my strip stick, and I'm just going to press that seam open. Alright, so there's one of them. I'll quickly do the other ones and then I'll come back and show you how we go about laying this out. Alright, now that I've got all these pressed, I'm going to lay this out. And the nice thing about this block is it's very, very simple. You're just going to lay out all 4 of your pieces just like this. There we go. And now we're going to sew it together. We're going to start by sewing it into 2 and then then we'll put all of the 2 rows together, and then we'll have all 4 of our blocks together. What we're going to want to do in this instance though, we're going to want to be very careful about how we go about putting these corners together. So I'm going to do what I like to do and how I like to handle these things the most. And I'm going to bring these two together just like this. I'll lift this up to the camera so that you can see how very close I am. See how nice that fits together? I'm going to fold this back just like this and pinching it with my fingers, and I'm going to put a pin in on this side, and I'm going to put one over here. And what that's going to do is just keep my block together so that as I sew through here, my seams stay nice and matched up. I'm going to take one more pin and put it here. So I'm going to sew right down this line because this is how my block goes. I'm going to do that on here, then I'm going to go sew them, and then I'll come back and show you how I'm going to press this next section, because remember, we've got an awful lot of blocks coming together right there in that corner, and we really want it as smooth as we can get it in the least amount of bulk that we can get, because that's going to be important for us. All right, I'm going to go sew these. I want to double check that I did them in the right direction. This one goes like this, I think, and this one goes like this, because you can mess the directions up, so you've got to make sure that you've got them going correctly. I've got mine correct. I'm going to go over, sew them, and then I'll come back. All right, I am going to clip my little dog ears here, kind of making a mess on my mat, but I'll clean it up later. And I'm going to press these seams open again, I've just decided. Because I could press them to one side or the other here. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press these open. I'm going to press these to one side. So let's set our seam first. I'm going to open it up then. And I'm going to press to the pink. So there I am, nice and pressed. Got a nice 1/4 of an inch right there. And it does match up pretty good. So I'm going to flip that one around, and I'm going to set this seam. Then I'm going to double check which way I need to press this one, because I want to be able to nestle these seams together. So I'm going to press towards the pink again. Now that I've set my seam, here we go. Flip it over, nice 1/4 of an inch again, and I'm going to press that one last time. Now I'm going to put my two pieces together, and now I will be able to butt my seams right up next to one another, which will be very nice. Will definitely help hold things together. I'm going to pin on each side of my seam just to give it that much more stability, and then I'm going to pin at the start and at the end. So I am using a lot of pins, but we dealt with the bias when we did this, so I want to make sure that everything is really good and stabilized. All right, I'm going to go sew this together, and then our block is actually all done. All right, I've sewn it. The first thing I'm going to do is set my seam. after I've set my seam, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to take a look at it and figure out what I need to do and where I need to press that center seam, just to see how it's laying. And I think in this instance, I'm going to press this one open. And my reasoning behind it is because I can feel that bulk right there. And if I press it to one side, boy, there's really going to be a lot when I go to stitch over that corner. So I'm going to do it this way. And I'm still going to have bulk, but it lays flatter when you tend to, or at least it does for me, when I press things open. So again, I'm going to use the tip of my iron to do all of the work for me. And I'm just pressing it open. All right. Now I'm going to flip this over. And that's not a bad center. I think I did pretty good. It's not perfect, but I'm not going to take it out. I'm okay with it. I'm going to press it, spray it with a little bit of the Mary Ellen's Best Press. I use the unscented because I'm asthmatic. And I'm going to clip my corners here so that those are all done while I wait for that starch to kind of seep into that fabric a little bit. All right, so now that it's into my fabric nice, I'm going to start by pressing at the center, and then I'm going to work my way out. You can see I'm trying to pick the iron up and then set it back down again versus doing a lot of hard pressing where I'm just kind of skidding across the fabric. I want to I just want to be a little bit careful with it. I don't want to stretch the block. All right, here's another block done. So this is our block number 18. It is our pinwheel block, one of them. And I am using on this one fabrics number 19 in 22. So there is your block all done. I want you to take it and square it up according to your directions. If it's not square, just do whatever you need to do to get it square. And that's it. Our next block is going to be another pinwheel, and I'll be back to show you how to put that one together. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I cannot wait to see your springtime sampler blocks on our Facebook group. So pop on over there and take a look at everybody's pictures, and I'll be there too. See you over in Facebook. Bye, everybody.